On the 1st of October 1992, the Turner Broadcasting System launched Cartoon Network. And while Cartoon Network was not the first cable channel to have relied on cartoons to attract an audience, it was the first 24-hour single-genre channel with animation as its main theme. By the late 90s, Cartoon Network had become serious competition for rival network Nickelodeon, with the success of shows like the Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Edd and Eddy, and a show that traumatized millions of children around the world, Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
Someone actually thought it was a good idea to show this to children. The 90s, man, it was a different time. But by the early 2000s, in spite of their success, Cartoon Network would recognize a problem. In targeting a child audience by running cartoons 24/7, late at night they would lose almost all of their network traffic since children have bedtimes. In order to fix this, they would need to attract an older audience, to which on the 2nd of September 2001, they launched their new programming block, Adult Swim. Existing essentially as a network within a network, the early days of Adult Swim were a bit different to how it is now. Basically throwing things at a wall to see what would stick, Adult Swim allowed its creators to experiment and present their vision their way without the pressure of ratings or corporate meddling. But it wouldn't be long before things moved from experimental to weird. Being unofficially called the Stoner's Paradise, you had shows like the crudely animated comedic fever dream that was Squidbillies, airing alongside shows such as the bizarre live-action sci-fi Saul of the Mole Men. And while most of the shows in Adult Swim's catalogue are largely more forgettable than Arthur Ready to Race for the PS1, it wasn't without its success stories. Brendan Small's Metalocalypse was a hilarious satirical take on heavy metal music, the lifestyle, and the culture surrounding it. The stop-motion parodies of Seth Green's Robot Chicken built a big cult following, and Rick and Morty was definitely a thing. Whether or not that was a good thing, I'll leave that up to you.
I want Szechuan sauce. Where's my Szechuan sauce? I'm Kendall Rick! One beloved Dum-Dum! I'm Kendall Rick!
Man, the things people do to get attention on the internet. But among Adult Swim's more successful shows sits Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It follows the bizarre adventures of 3 anthropomorphic fast food items known as Frylock, Master Shake, and Meatwad. The show's humour is wacky and often at times irreverent, which will come up later on, so remember that. But it's in episode 4 of season 1 that we would be introduced to 2 reoccurring characters, known collectively as the Mooninites. Individually, Ignignot and are designed to look like early 80s video game characters, similar to something you would see in the likes of Space Invaders. They come from the moon, hence the name, and as characters they exist to annoy the main characters of the show and commit crimes, which presents a certain level of irony considering they're at the center of one of the funniest and most fascinating incidents of mass hysteria or panic in recent memory. As with a fair few mass hysteria cases, things are going to happen, they are going to happen fast, and it'll all be over fairly quickly. And like in most cases, the fear people experienced is no more grounded in reality than Harry Potter and the Avengers defeat Darth Vader. But where the interesting things occur is in the background and the aftermath, which we will get to because it's honestly hilarious. But this is the story of the Boston Mooninite panic.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
It's the 31st of January 2007, 8:05 AM, when a commuter at Boston's Sullivan Square station would notice a device attached to a girder that supports an elevated section of Interstate 93. Concerned, the person brought it to the attention of a worker from the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. At 8:18, unsure of what the device was but knowing it didn't belong there, the MBTA worker reported the device to authorities. There was a massive response from the police, who determined that this device was suspicious and had components consistent with improvised explosive devices. Attorney General Martha Coakley would state at a later date that it had a very sinister appearance, it had a battery behind it, and wires. At 9 AM, the Boston Police Department's bomb squad would receive a call to attend Sullivan Square, and as a precaution, the northbound lanes of the I-93 were shut down, as well as parts of the public transport system. Shortly after 10 AM, the bomb squad would use a small, water-filled explosive to destroy the device, rendering it safe and determining it to be some sort of hoax. But it wasn't over yet. Soon reports of these devices would be coming from all over the city, causing multiple road closures, the closing of the Longfellow and Boston University bridges, and the Coast Guard to shut down all boat traffic on the Charles River, forcing the bomb squad to scramble to multiple locations where they would destroy the devices in a manner similar to the first. But strangely, as quickly as the chaos started, it ended.
No indications in the investigation at this point in time that indicate that this is a terrorist act.
This investigation is not over according to authorities, but one man is in custody, bringing to close a very frightening and chaotic day here in Boston.
These devices, described as sinister in appearance, looked like this, which is not to be confused with this sinister looking device, or this one, or even this one. If it seems like I'm criticizing the response to the situation, I am, and there are reasons for that we will get to. But I'm sure you can see where this is going. At approximately 4:30 in the afternoon, Turner Broadcasting made contact with local authorities, claiming responsibility for the placement of the devices, which would be confirmed shortly before 5 p.m., much to the anger of Boston's mayor, Thomas Menino.
Why did they wait till 5 o'clock this afternoon? The first time we found out was the individuals who may be placing these bombs, or these packages, I should say, should be warned that this is a heavy penalty. It's imprisonment, 2 to 5 years for each one of them.
Planning for the guerrilla marketing campaign began in November of 2006 when Interference Inc., a marketing agency contracted by Cartoon Network to promote the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, reached out to Boston area artist Peter Zebler-Budovsky, asking if he would be interested in working on the campaign. Budovsky agreed and enlisted the help of a man named Sean Stevens, to which Interference would send 40 of the electronic signs to the men with the instructions that they be put up covertly in the night, providing a list of suggested locations including train stations, overpasses, and other high traffic areas. On an unspecified date in mid-January, Budovsky and Stevens began what they called Boston Mission 1. During Mission 1, they would put up 20 of the signs they had received around the Boston area. In what they called Boston Mission 2 on the 29th of January, Budovsky and Stevens put up 18 more signs, including the one that would be found at Sullivan Square Station on the 31st. And this is where the first bits of criticism come in. These signs had been in place for days, if not weeks, before the panic. However, in defense of the residents of Boston, we as people see a lot, but take in very little of our environment. For example, a bus just went past in the top left of your screen. Did you happen to catch the number? This was a problem that was compounded by the obscurity of the show. As opposed to this very real billboard promoting the movie Oppenheimer that did not cause a panic, people were unable to recognize the Mooninites as cartoon characters.
You'll remember my next guest from their zany stunt to promote Cartoon Network's animated alien characters called Mooninites.
In fact, it wasn't until after 1 p.m. that police even began investigating the link between the cartoon characters and the signs, when a young member of the mayor's office saw one of the signs and pointed it out to them, to which I would imagine they began feeling rather foolish. The decision to not show what the signs looked like to the public would also be criticized.
The point is that if the police had put out a picture of this, if the media, which had the pictures, wasn't pixelating it, people who do watch the show would have known exactly what it was before lunch.
But during the scare, there was one man who recognized the signs, Budovsky. After the first one was found, he went to Sullivan Square Station and saw the police investigating it. Budovsky returned to his apartment and contacted Interference, who told him they would handle it and that he should personally say nothing about the situation. At around 1:30 in the afternoon, Budovsky would email several of his friends alleging that an executive from Interference told him to, quote, keep everything on the DL. As previously mentioned, Turner Broadcasting would claim responsibility in the late afternoon, and Budovsky would be arrested, as well as Stevens later in the evening. They would be charged with placing a hoax device to incite panic, a felony charge that carries a 5-year maximum sentence. They were arraigned the following day and released on a $2,500 cash bond, and this is where the fun begins. If you were brought up on charges akin to an act of domestic terror with a city and police force angry at you, staring down a possible prison sentence and advised by your lawyer not to discuss the case with reporters, knowing there'd be a crowd of them as you left the courthouse, what would you do? I guarantee whatever you just answered is nowhere near as funny as what these two did.
I think my dreadlocks are pretty nice and they're going to keep growing for a little while. I'm quite enjoying this. But altogether, I want to redirect this onto the topic of haircuts in the 70s.
It's such a beautiful day to be outside. I think you should all enjoy that.
That's also not a hair question. I'm really pleased to be on your network. I've been watching Fox News for a little while by now.
I really feel like we're not getting the feedback.
Yeah, we're not getting the feedback that we need from you guys. If you really want to talk to us, please talk to us about the topic.
I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, I created a live video performance dedicated to Fox News. You can check it out on my website, zebra.com. That's not a hair question, I'm sorry.
Now that is how it's done. These guys are absolute legends, and a lot of other people thought so too, showing their support for them, saying that the city of Boston had overreacted considering this campaign had also been running in places like New York, Los Angeles, Seattle, Austin, and Chicago, with Boston being the only city to react this way. During the trial, the prosecution struggled to prove that the men had intentionally tried to cause panic, which was a big part of the case. Eventually, a plea deal would be agreed upon that saw Badovsky and Stevens give a public apology as well as serve 80 and 60 hours of community service respectively at the Spaulding Rehabilitation Center, where by all accounts, people seem to really like them.
They've left a really good impression with us. I was one of those folks stuck in traffic, and I still forgive them.
And really, who wouldn't like them? They were doing interviews like this. On the 5th of February, Turner and Interference agreed to pay a total of $2 million. $1 million to go to the Boston Police Department and $1 million to go to the Department of Homeland Security, along with their public apologies, absolving them of any civil or criminal responsibilities. In reality, this was just the two companies saying, hey, sorry we made you look like a laughingstock on national TV, since actually charging them would have been very difficult, as again, proving the intentions would be almost impossible. On the 9th of February, Cartoon Network General Manager and Executive VP Jim Samples resigned, stating that it was in recognition of the gravity of the situation that occurred under my watch, and with the hope that my decision allows us to put this chapter behind us. A sentiment that would not be echoed by the creators of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, who on the 20th of January 2008 would begin airing season 5 of the show. However, before it aired, episode 1 was pulled as it was titled Boston. The plot was a parody of the events of the previous year and featured the Mooninites looking like this. Remember what I said about irreverent humor? Interestingly, even though the episode was cut, Ignignot can be seen in the DVD box art for season 5 with the same look. In 2015, an unfinished version of the episode was leaked online, much to the annoyance of show creator Dave Willis, who in a Reddit AMA expressed his disdain for the leak of an unfinished episode. To this day, the city still refers to the incident as a hoax rather than a scare, implying that Cartoon Network, Turner, Interference, Badovsky, Stevens, and Adult Swim intentionally conspired to threaten the city of Boston with fake bombs. And while the idea of that is pretty funny, the most hilarious thing about all of this is that on the 27th of February 2007, not even a month after the Mooninite panic, the Boston Police Department's bomb squad was called to Devonshire Street in the financial district, where they destroyed a suspicious device, rendering it unusable, only to find out that it was a traffic counting box that had been placed there by city officials. That is not a good look, and before you ask, I don't know if there was any compensation paid to the city, but I would imagine there were a lot of embarrassed people. Badovsky would go on to actually be hired by the city of Boston, organizing a light show for their 2014 New Year's celebrations. The decision to hire him was met with some criticism, but coming to his defense was none other than Boston's mayor, Thomas Menino.
You know, we're a forgiving city. This guy made a mistake, we're moving forward.
Even though these events took place so long ago, they wouldn't be forgotten, with the Adult Swim account tweeting on the 1st of February 2022, January 31st, 07, never forget. And that is the story of the Boston Mooninite panic. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and a special thanks to our top patrons. Their names are Joseph and JBalls902. You guys are awesome. I'm already working on a video for Halloween that, unlike this one, will come out on time, and hopefully it's spooky enough for all of you. And I hope you like this one. It's a topic I thought was rather interesting and pretty funny. Let me know what you thought in the comments, but tune in next time when we talk about crabs, delicious crustaceans, or dangerous criminals.